We've just received new information about the next Harbingers set to appear in Genshin Impact, and it's more surprising than expected. It turns out that some of them won't be waiting for us in Snezhnaya. They're making their moves much sooner. In this video, I'll break down everything we know so far, including where they're showing up, what this could mean for the story, and how their arrival might reshape the game's future. Alright, so here's the latest scoop. 3 Harbingers are coming soon and their locations have just been shared. According to DK2, Dottore and Columbina are set to appear in Nordkrai, while Pantalone will be showing up in Snezhnaya instead. While this leak provides a solid framework for what to expect, it's important to take everything with a grain of salt. Plans can shift during development, and Hoyoverse has been known to adjust story beats or character appearances even late in production. But for now, these placements suggest that the next major steps in the Fatui storyline are already being set in motion. Now that we know where they're showing up, let's talk about everything we know about each of them. Starting with Dottore. Dottore is one of the most unpredictable Harbingers, and his involvement in Sumeru left a major impact on the story. With his obsession with cloning and experimentation, his presence in Nordkrai suggests that he may be involved in something even more sinister. There's a lot of conflicting information about Dottore's role. Some leaks claim he might be playable, while others say he won't be. However, one thing is certain. He has multiple slices or clones of himself existing at different ages. According to leaks from Snezhnaya and Keitaro GG, Dottore has versions of himself ranging from 20 to 45 years old. The most well-known versions are the Funeral Doctor, who appeared at Signora's funeral and is described as cold and calculating, and the Young Doctor, who we saw in Sumeru and is known for his arrogance. Yes, from the current info, these are 2 completely different Dottores, with distinct personalities, ages, and even mannerisms, but both are still part of the same individual. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth on whether Dottore will be playable or not. Some leaks say he'll eventually become a unit, while others claim he's purely an antagonist. The fact that there are multiple versions of him raises an interesting possibility. What if one of his slices is different from the others? Maybe, just like how we fought and later teamed up with Tartaglia and Arlecchino, we could see a version of Dottore that breaks away from the rest. This could open the door for him to be playable, but right now, it's all speculation. Columbina has remained a mystery since she first appeared in a Winter Nights Lazo trailer. Child himself has openly admitted that he fears her, which immediately sets her apart from the other Harbingers. But the real question is, why is she appearing in Nordkrai instead of Snezhnaya? According to the so-called Harbinger Wheel, which predicts the order of their releases, Columbina should be the next playable Harbinger after Arlecchino, followed by Capitano. This means it makes perfect sense for her to appear in the story soon, possibly even before we enter Snezhnaya. What makes Columbina even more interesting is that Natlan is still missing a weekly boss tied to a Harbinger. Liyue had Child, Inazuma Signora, Sumeru had Scaramouche, and Fontaine introduced Arlecchino as its weekly boss. So far, Natlan doesn't have one, which is a massive gap in the usual pattern. At this point, if we take a closer look at all the remaining Harbingers and consider who could be the one to take the Pyronosis, the only real contenders are Columbina and Sandrone. However, Sandrone seems like an unlikely choice for Natlan. Everything we know about her suggests she's a hikikomori-type character, always buried in her research. Columbina, on the other hand, fits perfectly. She's mysterious, carries an unsettling presence, and is ranked high enough among the Harbingers to handle something as important as a gnosis. But here's where things get interesting. I really don't think she'll even be trying when we fight her. Unlike Arlecchino or Scaramouche, who had clear motivations and went all out in their battles, Columbina gives off a completely different vibe. She seems like the type of character who plays with her enemies rather than actually fighting them seriously. Out of all the remaining Fatui Harbingers, Pantalone is the one we know the least about. But I heard a crazy conspiracy theory about Pantalone, and honestly, the more I think about it, the less crazy it sounds. Some people believe that Pantalone and Baiju are connected. either narratively or even biologically. Yeah, I know, it sounds ridiculous at first, but hear me out. First off, they look way too similar. Both have similar expressions, glasses, and a refined intellectual appearance, which already makes them stand out in a game where barely any characters wear glasses. Their facial structures are nearly identical, and when you put them side by side, it's hard to believe they wouldn't share some kind of connection. Even their overall aesthetic choices align too well. It just feels way too intentional, and in a game where character designs are carefully crafted to reflect their personalities and lore, there's no way this is just a coincidence. Now, this is where things get interesting. All Fatui Harbingers are based on commedia dell'arte characters, a form of Italian theater. Pantalone, in that tradition, is a rich, greedy merchant, obsessed with money and control, which fits what we know about him. But in the same tradition, there's another character called Cassandro, who knew how to adapt to any situation in the course of his numerous adventures. Sometimes, Pantalone and Cassandro are portrayed as connected figures, almost like two sides of the same role. So if Hoyoverse is pulling from this influence, what if Pantalone and Baiju are tied together in a similar way? There's another weird link. Pantalone's emblem looks like a healer's hand, a common symbol in traditional medicine. That makes total sense for Baiju, but why would Pantalone have it? And then there's Baiju's name, which comes from atractylodes, a Chinese medicinal herb. His entire character revolves around healing and extending life, while Pantalone is focused on money, power, and control. But in real life, medicine has always been tied to wealth. Those who control medicine also control survival. What if Pantalone sees healing not as a way to help people, but as a business? Maybe in his eyes, people shouldn't be saved for free. While I don't think they're literally the same person, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a shared past, or if Baiju had some connection to the Fatui before. Maybe Pantalone even funds certain medical research behind the scenes, using his influence to shape the world in ways we haven't seen yet. If we follow the pattern of the Harbinger wheel, the remaining Harbingers will likely be introduced in this order: Columbina, Capitano, Pulcinella, who might not even be playable, Dottore, Piero, and only then Pantalone and Sandrone. But with so many Harbingers left, there's no way they'll all appear in just one Snezhnaya arc. That's why I think Snezhnaya will be divided into multiple story arcs. Instead of all the Harbingers showing up at once, they'll be introduced gradually across different updates. The Fatui Harbingers continue to be one of the most compelling parts of Genshin's story, and with Dottore, Columbina, and Pantalone making their appearances soon, the lore is about to get even deeper. So who are you most excited to meet? Do you think we'll actually be able to fight Columbina in Natlan? And what do you think about the theory that Pantalone might be connected to Baiju? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Save up to 23% on 5.3 banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.